Hello, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for attending today's live virtual information session with Sherwin-Williams. I am John Paul Hernandez, your Employer Relations Specialist for CSUSB, along with Jackie Aguayo, your Event Coordinator. In a few moments, I will go ahead and introduce our presenter. First, I'd like to explain some functions available to you during the presentation portion. On the bottom center of the screen, you'll see a Q&A chat option. Feel free to type any questions throughout the presentation via the Q&A chat. You can also use the chat if that's easier. We will also address those questions live at the end of the presentation. In this presentation today, they'll cover an overview of Sherwin-Williams opportunities, resume writing 101, and how to apply and, of course, connect. And so with that, I'd like to now introduce our partner and presenter, Helena Kim, Talent Acquisition Specialist with Sherwin-Williams for the Southwest region. Take it away, Helena.
Thank you so much, John Paul and Jacqueline, for executing this event and inviting me as a speaker. And thank you all attendees for joining me for this session. I'm super stoked to share more about Sherwin-Williams, as well as go over some tips and tricks for resume writing and building. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here just for my. All right, so we'll go ahead and the main topic of our info session today will be resume writing, but of course I will go over what our company is all about, some fun facts, and then of course the opportunities that I primarily recruit for, as well as how to connect and where to apply. So before we get started with the nitty-gritty, I do want to just formally introduce myself and my role here at Sherwin-Williams. So I am a TA specialist or early talent recruiter. And as an early talent recruiter, I primarily recruit for two of our early talent programs, which is our full-time management and sales training program, as well as our management and sales summer internship program, which I'll of course go into a little bit more detail later. But I joined Sherwin-Williams back in April of this year. So it's been roughly about 6 months and some change for me. And so I might not know everything about Sherwin-Williams at this point, but it's been a great, fun, dynamic learning experience for me. I work out of the Orange District office and based in Southern California, specifically in Orange County, but I do recruit for all of California, and I'll kind of specify which locations in the next few slides here. But I've been in HR recruiting for a little over 4 years now. Prior to Sherwin, I worked in recruiting in various different industries. So right before Sherwin, I worked at a public accounting firm. It's a Los Angeles-based CPA firm called HCBT. I was in campus recruiting for that. And then prior to the firm, I worked at my alma mater, which is Cal State Fullerton, in their auxiliary services division, supporting their HR team. So one of the most rewarding things about my job is really being able to partner with schools, with hiring managers, with students just like yourselves, to be able to guide them through landing their first internship or first full-time job. And I've been really enjoying the early talent space for that reason. And so love to partner with you all to be able to get you to the finish line. Some fun facts. Again, I'm a CSU Fullerton graduate, majored in communications with a PR focus. Of course, not doing that necessarily now, but there are some overlaps. And then I do love going to baseball games or watching baseball games or baseball, in my free time. So my husband actually got me into it. I used to think it was the most boring thing in the world until I actually became a fan of a team. So, we do like to make some time during baseball season to go out to games. And then another fun fact, I actually did get married last April during the peak of the pandemic. So we actually, interestingly enough, had our civil ceremony at the parking lot of the Honda Center in Anaheim, if anyone is familiar with that location. So a very interesting experience, but glad to be a part of a little piece of history there. So that's a little bit about me and my role. Now about Sherwin-Williams. So I know that some of you or many of you may not be familiar with Sherwin-Williams or may have heard about it or seen a commercial. But that's kind of how I was before I took this role. It was one of those brands that I would kind of just pass by, or like I would pass by a Sherwin store unknowingly, and I would maybe catch it in a commercial, but I didn't necessarily know exactly what it did and what it was all about. So Sherwin-Williams, we are a Fortune 200 paint and coatings manufacturing manufacturing company. And so 2022 revenues were 18.4 billion. And then we do have 3 reportable segments. So I support the Americas Group, or TAG. And so the next slide will kind of show you a breakdown of what the Americas Group consists of. But can take a look at all of the statistics here. We do have over 60,000 employees nationwide, as well as overseas. And then we do also we have cultivated an industry-leading portfolio of brands at the bottom there. And so, we're definitely a dynamic company, a leading, company when it comes to paint and coatings manufacturing. Now, a little bit more of a deeper look into what the Americas Group is all about. So what it is it's a culmination of all of our stores nationwide. We have over 4,500 stores and then over 3,000 sales reps. And then you can also see a breakdown of our delivery trucks, drivers, and management trainees that were hired in 2020. So you can kind of see the statistics there. But essentially, I support the MT program, as well as our summer internship program, based on the same track of management and sales. And so specifically, I would, definitely as a recruiter support the Americas Group, filling the needs for the stores that we have nationwide. All right, so some fun facts. I know I already mentioned Fortune 200 company. We were recognized 3 times as one of the best employers for new grads, 3 times in a row. And so that's something that we definitely hold very dearly and very proudly. We also very much promote an inclusive work environment, along with our ERGs, or employee resource groups, that consist of all of our underrepresented groups, internally. 1 out of 3 management trainees also identified as women. And then last but not least, our CEO himself, John Maricas, actually started out his Sherwin career as a management trainee. And so that's something that I like to always kind of throw out as a fun fact. And he's accumulated over 30 years here at Sherwin, has dedicated himself, and he still comes out to the stores and introduces himself to new, MT hires, and kind of, navigates through the stores nationwide as well. And so, I think that's something that's, definitely a true testament to really how people focused we are, and, how approachable leadership is. But those are some of the fun facts here of our company. Now, specifically for the MT program, which locations do I recruit for? So we have 6 districts across California and Northern Nevada. So I recruit for all 6 of them, and I've kind of given you a breakdown of what each district is called. And so our LA district, San Diego, Cal Coast, you can think of coastal cities like San Luis Obispo, Monterey, all the way down to Santa Barbara, Oxnard, Santa Cruz. Cal Central, kind of, Fresno, Bakersfield, Stockton. Cal North, we have 3 separate markets in Cal North. And so that would be our outlying markets, with Chico, Redding, Yuba City, and then our greater Sacramento area. And then actually our Northern Nevada market, which consists of cities like Sparks, Reno, Carson City. They're also absorbed into the Cal North district. And then last but not least, Cal Bay, which is basically the Bay Area. And then towards the end, I'll definitely go over kind of, where to apply, how to connect, and then exactly where to see all of the job postings and things of that nature. But kind of tracing back to the main topic for today, which is resume writing 101. these are probably things that you've already heard or, would kind of serve as a refresher. And there's nothing wrong with that. I always say that resumes are a work in progress all the time. And, when they're stagnant, there's something, wrong, right? And so, always being open to proofreading, kind of having a fresh pair of eyes, take a look at the resume and kind of see what improvements can be made. And so hopefully this topic will be very relevant to you. So first and foremost, kind of going over the section. So header, objective statement, education, work experience, involvement, skills / certifications. And, definitely don't be alarmed or discouraged if you see something that you may not have implemented in your own resume. Every resume is a little bit different and application is different as well. So these are just some, tips and tricks that we kind of encourage and like to see, in our MT resumes and intern resumes. So starting with header, we like a bold and large font size for your name. We like to make sure that that is kind of front and center and that's easy to read. In terms of address, making sure that you're listing the school and permanent address or single address, phone number, and then email address. So for address, you don't necessarily have to put the whole address on there. Typically, the city and state really is enough just so that we can get a kind of an understanding of where your location is or where you're possibly looking to fulfill this role. And so that's, helpful in that way, but definitely do not have to, list out the whole address just because of safety reasons. But in terms of, everything else, contact information, we want to make sure that the phone number and email are very clear and easy to read. There's been some, cases where I would send a resume over to a hiring manager and they can't necessarily, read out their contact information. And so that, could be a minor flag in terms of, initial impression. And so kind of making sure that your contact information is very clear and easy to read and point out. Now with objective statements, that I believe, I think that, opinions are varied on that. We say that it's optional, can sometimes be vague or take up valuable space. And really the most important thing, on a resume is to make sure you use space wisely. And so if you do use one, we like to see that you're including what you're specifically seeking and when you're available to start, and then maybe 2 to 3 key strengths you bring to the role. So when it comes to an internship role, what is the internship that you're looking for, in kind of which area, maybe, software engineering, management, sales. And then we like to see kind of, when you're available to start, and then what do you bring to the table, for this role as a potential candidate. With education, I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but high school is not necessary if you are currently attending college. And I think that's probably the case for all of you attendees here. But for college degrees, include all of them. We like to see progression. We like to see that you've, definitely been able to progress into maybe transferring, or even if you haven't, and that's kind of maybe you have a couple multiple different community college degrees, that's fine as well. Just include all of them, and just making sure that in terms of your education portion that you're clear with the university name, degree / major, expected graduation or graduation date, GPA. Again, with GPA, you don't necessarily have to add it if it may be kind of on the lower side, or you don't necessarily want to put it because of space issues. GPA is just one of those things where if you think it's strong enough, maybe over 3.0 or over, then definitely put it on there. But if it'll just take up space, then you don't necessarily have to add that. And then of course scholarships, being on the dean's list, any academic achievements, and then study abroad opportunities that you've embarked on, we'd love to see that as well.
Excuse me, I got one question.
Yeah, sure.
Are we allowed to talk? Are we allowed to talk?
Let's go ahead and, if we can, keep the questions to the end of the presentation.
Or do we write them in the chat box?
Yeah, just go ahead and type in the chat.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. And then if this is your first job out of college, we do encourage that education, is listed first, after your first job experience, typically before education, so that we're able to see, what kind of work history you've accrued. And then we can definitely kind of, scroll down to your education piece. For multiple degrees, we do encourage you to list it in reverse chronological order. So whatever is the most recent to least recent. So with experience, generally, again, same thing with education, or similar to education, you list your most recent experience to oldest experience. And so the reason for this is because we want to make sure we showcase relevant experiences first. And so example, lead with summer internship on your resume, even if it ended and you're currently working part-time while in school. And so, kind of starting with, your internship, especially if it's applicable to the role that you are wanting to be considered for, and then, listing your part-time position after that. And then in terms of section titles, they offer flexibility with order of experiences. And so definitely section titles are, it really just kind of leads the eye to each section a lot more efficiently. And especially when they're kind of bolded in a bigger size, font size, it's just really easy to read, easy to kind of point out which section we're on. And so utilizing section titles such as internship experience, professional work experience, related experience, as well as additional work experience. And then, of course, what you should include for your work experience would be name of company, position title, length, typically just a month and a year, city and state, and then at least 3 bullet points of your description when it comes to job duties and tasks. Now, again, pretty self-explanatory, but experience can consist of full-time and part-time jobs. Really doesn't matter in terms of, it definitely applies to what the role that you're, wanting to interview for, but really adding all of the things that you've done to gain experience to really build your skill set. And that also includes internships, practicum, field and cooperative education, volunteering experience. We do like to see someone who's well-rounded, and job shadows, as well as study abroad or athletics. So definitely adding everything that you've done up until this point to be able to add to your diverse skill set. All right, so this is probably my favorite slide, because this is something that I try to always kind of strive for myself. And it's kind of fun to branch out and look into different action verbs. And so I'm sure you've heard this multiple times as well, but when it comes to your bullet points and writing out your kind of, what you did, day-to-day tasks and things like that, starting each line with an action verb, and not just an action verb, but a strong one. And so, general rule of thumb, present tense if currently employed, past tense if no longer employed, and then of course, diversifying your choice of action verbs. So we do have an image here where it shows you different powerful resume words that you can utilize to, not only enhance your resume, but when an employer recruiter takes a look at it, they can really see exactly what you've done, and you're able to kind of plug in certain words that can also be kind of pointed out from the applicant tracking system. Everything is done electronically these days. And so, being able to enhance your resume that way, by using a strong action verb is, I think, one of the easiest ways to be able to really, further build out your resume more effectively. And then tailoring your skills and experiences to the position. I think that's, again, pretty straightforward when it comes to making sure that all of the skills and experiences that you've gained are relevant to the role. And then focusing on achievements versus tasks. I always like to say that I like to see quantifiable results on someone's resume. So when it comes to statistics or percentages, those are very kind of easy to pick out in kind of a wall of text that you read throughout your resume, and kind of quantifying what you've done to be able to kind of do the role well or do the task well. And then being concise while providing enough detail. Now, this is something that I think everyone, it's not something that you can, of course, perfect on day, one, but, striking a good balance of providing enough detail about the role so that we have a better understanding of what you did, what the role entailed, but also being concise where you're not listing out 10 bullet points for each role, kind of focusing on some of the main achievements that you accomplished and kind of day-to-day tasks as well. Now, for involvement, there's, of course, lots of different ways to showcase your involvement. And these are also ways that you can, do kind of in the near future as well. This is, and I'm sure, not one person has everything listed out here, and that's not expected at all. But, just to show that there are so many different ways you can, get involved to add on to your resume to overall enhance it. And so campus activities, sports, intramurals, Greek life, volunteer orgs, leadership roles, if you've held a leadership role in a campus organization, student government, campus job, work study abroad, honor society. So just lots of different ways you can really kind of enhance your involvement and, again, add to your skill set. And, something we do like to see on your resume as well, not just that you got a 4.0 in your classes, but, that's obviously incredible. However, are you a well-rounded individual? Are you able to multitask? Are you able to get involved on campus, right? And those are some of the things that we can see to understand that you are a well-rounded individual. So these are just some of the ways that you can get involved and to showcase your involvement. Again, leadership roles are great to see, specifically with the management and sales training program. We do like to see that this candidate has a vested interest in management and sales, and looking back at their resume, if they've progressed from maybe a sales associate to a sales lead or a team lead, that shows us that, hey, this person really showed, that he wants to step up, he's taking initiative, and he's able to really kind of, fine tune maybe his, leadership skills to be able to train, his team, or, be trusted to kind of oversee day-to-day, operational flow, something of that nature. I think it is just great to see because of the progression and kind of, we can, to whole kind of thing about adding to your skill set as well. And so I think leadership roles are, something that can always be implemented to enhance your resume. Again, 2 to 3 bullets can be helpful to include, but not required. So keeping it short and sweet, but also highlighting, what you've done on your resume to, essentially showcase that. The skill section. So I know for the skill section, it's one of those things where we, do question, should we put it in, should we not? Does it take up too much space? So these are some of our tips. Only put them if you have them. And then make sure to spell industry specific skill sets correctly and capitalize where appropriate. So you can kind of see the example of JavaScript. Just because, it does tell us, are you detail oriented? Are you able to kind of, be able to, kind of scope out grammatical errors and fix them, and, kind of just be able to, again, or do you have an eye for detail? If including any portfolio links, make sure they're up to date and ready to view, just kind of minimizes any sort of fumbling when it comes to technical issues or if the link is expired. Make sure to include the date if it's associated with a certificate, and then highlighting fluency in other languages. This is something that we actually put in our job description as a preferred qualification, as bilingual in another language preferred. I believe it's Spanish, but really any other language is, I think, so valuable to your skill set, and something that I think is noticed as well, from an employer or recruiter's perspective, and especially when it can be a valuable asset, such as for the MT program, if you are bilingual in Spanish, that's something that our district leadership teams definitely note and ask you about and kind of want to explore, because we do have a very large Spanish-speaking customer base, and so definitely highlighting fluency in other languages is definitely a positive when it comes to adding your skills section. Overall resume dues, generally 1 page is recommended unless of course you do have like 10 plus years of experience, but even then just being able to, again, be concise with enough detail. Again, it is, it can be difficult to strike that balance, but, as you continue to proofread and edit, I think it'll definitely kind of, help you understand what you can take out and what you should add to overall, really enhance your resume. I think one of the main takeaways you can take from this topic is keeping it simple and easy to read. Not using a lot of what I like to call flowery language. Just keeping it very clear, easy to read, and implementing those strong action verbs to kind of do the work, for itself, really. Using a professional font, 10 to 12 point size. Again, this is really up to you and what you think, looks professional. I know some of the fonts that, are kind of recommended would be maybe Arial Times New Roman. But, I think this is something that, is really up to you and kind of what you, see fit and what you think looks professional. Appropriate margins, no smaller than 0.5 and no larger than 1. This is something that I personally don't really put too much emphasis on, but some other companies or employers may kind of have specific or specifications on this. So definitely kind of keeping it to some the general regulation or the range of margins. But I think for each recruiter it kind of varies in terms of requirements or what they like to see on the resumes. Having adequate spacing between sections, again, going back to being easy to read, being kind of neat and clean and just simple. Proofread and edit, ask someone to review it. Again, having a fresh pair of eyes or a couple of pairs of eyes to review, it's always, I think, a great idea to have someone else, maybe a colleague or a friend, a family member, someone you trust, to be able to review it and be able to see what looks good and what could be areas of improvement. And then again, kind of going back to one of my first statements that I put out, which is it is a work in progress all the time. So don't forget that it's an evolving document. It grows and changes with your career. I mean, it's I think that's definitely the mentality when you go into kind of building out your resume. As you add more work experience, roles that you've done, or involvement that you've achieved, I think it just goes to say that it's always changing, it's always evolving. So don't be discouraged if at that moment it doesn't look top tier, because again, with everything else, with so much information out there about perfecting your resume, I think it's really up to kind of how you feel about it and what you see looks fit, and of course the roles that you are applying for, and kind of tailoring it to the specific roles, but also just keeping in mind some of the kind of the tips and tricks that are the most prevalent when it comes to building your resume. And then, of course, don't avoid using pronouns such as I, me, my. There's really no need to do that, just because, again, using those action verbs, starting out those bullet points with those strong action verbs, they really do the work, for itself. And so don't really need to use pronouns. No need to include references. Now, I have seen differing opinions about this, and I myself don't really mind if I see references. Some roles may require references, and so I think this is really just an employer's preference. But for the most part, I think it does probably take up space where you can add more skills or add more maybe academic achievements or more bullet points. And so again, kind of seeing what looks the most appropriate and space wise, and then going from there. And of course, making sure that it's whatever you do with the references, that it's appropriate for the specific role that you're targeting. Limit the clutter. Again, clutter is never good. And so just making sure that, again, going back to being simple and clean when it comes to spacing and the text, because as you may all know, recruiters get a lot of resumes on a regular basis. And so I think being simple and easy to read is one of the main things that sometimes gets overlooked, but it's always at the forefront. not making any misrepresentations about your previous experience or education, and then keeping any personal information personal. So that includes SSN, age, sex, height, weight, marital status, and then photograph as well. All right, so that marks the end of our resume writing 101 topic. And I wanted to go ahead and transition into where you could go ahead and apply. And I have a couple of links on here for your reference. Feel free to take a screenshot, or if there are maybe asks, I can send the slides over to John Paul to distribute. But the first link, careers.sherwin-williams.com. This homepage will direct you to our site where you can see all of our open career paths. So not just the management sales training program, but all of our other early talent programs that we hire for nationwide. So I highly encourage you to check out that link. And there will also be an additional link once you click into a section where you can apply for specific roles. And so I would highly encourage you to kind of look at that and really get a deeper understanding of the overview of different programs that we offer and the different opportunities that we offer, from internships to post-grad opportunities, rotational internships, and within different departments as well, not just in management and sales. And then the second link is a direct job site. So jobsearch.sherwin.com is going to be our direct career job site, where you'll be able to essentially use keywords and different filters to kind of hone in on what you're specifically looking for. So tying it to what I primarily recruit for, I would encourage you to put in management sales training program or management sales training summer internship. I know that's kind of a mouthful, but we are hiring nationwide. I do recruit specifically for California and the Northern Nevada markets, but again, we're hiring nationwide. And so if you are looking to maybe relocate in the near future, it's, I would definitely check out all of the locations that we're hiring for. And then filtering by, again, preferred locations. So that kind of just ties in with what I was just saying. And then would love to connect with you all, definitely on LinkedIn. There's my email, very straightforward, helena.kim@sherwin.com. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Again, my scope of recruiting is primarily for the management sales training program as well as the internship program. However, I'd be, more than happy to redirect you to the right point of contact if you are interested in other opportunities. Again, that careers homepage will really give you a broad overview of the types of career paths that we promote and essentially showcase here at Sherwin-Williams. And so would definitely love to chat, or if you have a career topic that you're wanting to chat about, I would love to kind of give my input as well. But yeah, definitely connect with me. And thank you all for sitting through this presentation. Again, I think with resume writing, I think it's relevant to everyone, whether you're in the job search or not. And hopefully a lot of them were helpful to you.